Good evening, Belize, and welcome to XTV's news broadcast for Friday, February 14, 2025. Making the headlines tonight, CWU tells Minister ESAT composition is unfair and cites conflict of interest. Hopkins residents unhappy with mangrove clearance demand answers. PM insists they have acted in good faith regarding redistricting. And contempt charges against Honorable Panton dismissed by High Court. We take our first break and return with the news in detail.
February is all about
all of us and reflect our society at its best. Equal Opportunities Bill. Belize, we're ready.
Welcome back with your news. I am Drea Espinosa. The Christian Workers Union, CWU, has written to the Minister of Labor, Honorable Oscar Requena, to complain about the Essential Services Arbitration Tribunal, ESAT, that has been set up to resolve the impasse regarding the negotiations for a new collective bargaining agreement between stevedores and Port of Belize Limited, PBL. The CWU first notes that they are left to deal with an unreasonable consideration and legal procedure whose conclusion, quote, can only derive an unjust resolution, end quote. According to the CWU, the very composition of the tribunal is unfair as it has a chairman and 2 members out of 5 nominated by the minister in a case where the entity they are in dispute with is owned by the government of Belize. The CWU then notes that the constitutes a conflict of interest. The union asked the government to do the right and honorable thing and calls on the minister to use his influence in cabinet to urge that the government, as owner of PBL, quote, plays its part to settle the dispute. Going the ESAT route is unjust and unnecessary, end quote. The CWU adds it will leave no stone unturned to emphasize the unjust nature of the ESAT. This afternoon, the union issued a press release calling the tribunal a farce and a tragedy against the workers and people of Belize. It adds, quote, it would also be a miscarriage of justice as clearly the flawed tribunal is stacked against our stevedore members, end quote. This afternoon, we spoke with CWU President Leonara Flowers and asked if they will participate in the tribunal process.
See them on the train. Maybe that's the best place.
All right.
Thank you.
Unless you want to add anything else?
I just want to say that it is upon the government to bring a resolution to this matter. We were taken aback at the 8th of December in 2023 when this occurred. And it's been a long drag from them. We feel that we've been stalled every step of the way to get a response, a positive response from on behalf of the stevedores. So it is time now. It is not only time to call election, it is time to call a halt to all of the issues that is happening here at the CWU. We want to close the CBA and we ask the government, they have the wherewithal to do it.
Flowers added they do not believe there can be any positive resolution of the issues on the table with CEO Arturo Vasquez at the helm. He was part of the management under the private ownership of the port. Flowers also detailed difficulties they are having obtaining the financials of the government-owned company. We asked about the disposition of the stevedores in the face of these developments. Hopkins residents raised concerns on social media on Thursday after it was discovered that a portion of mangroves along the Hopkins Road was being cleared. Since the issue became public, the Hopkins Village Council issued a statement on their Facebook page. The council noted that, quote, over 60 lots in this area were distributed to the people of Hopkins several years ago. It is the mandate of the council to ensure that residents have proper access to their lots, and we are committed to making that a reality. Our people have been lobbying for this access for years, and we are dedicated to providing this opportunity to them, end quote. Another issue that residents have raised is that the land being developed as property is considered wetlands, which may not be suitable for development. Residents are also concerned that any development in the area could cause the Hopkins Road to flood. The Village Council also addressed this in their statement, denying that the development is located in the wetlands, saying, quote, "We want to make it clear that the area in question is not located in the wetlands. The wetlands are actually situated beyond the canal, and the area being worked on does not fall within these boundaries. Additionally, we are taking all necessary steps to ensure proper drainage in the area to prevent any future issues," end quote. Creme News XTV contacted officials in the Department of the Environment, DOE, who confirmed that they are aware of the situation. They noted that the department is actively investigating the situation and can't yet confirm if the development received necessary permissions to carry out the mangrove clearance. Meanwhile, residents are unhappy with the explanation given by the Village Council and organized a gathering this afternoon to demand answers. This morning in the Belize High Court, Honorable Moses Shine Barrow and Honorable Tracy Panton and their attorneys appeared before Justice Tawanda Hundura in a virtual hearing. The matters before the judge included contempt of court accusations against Panton, as well as an order for Panton not to hold herself out to be the leader of the UDP. Barrow, in an amended application on January 15, had also sought a gag order in relation to the case. Notably, the contempt charges were dismissed. Attorney Sheena Pitts, who is party chairperson in the Tracy Panton UDP, provided details of the applications that were decided today.
So what was heard this morning were two applications by Mr. Barrow. The first is his initial application for contempt. As you will recall, back last year, he had filed an application for contempt to commit the Honorable Panton to prison for 3 months. That was not heard at that time. In January, on January 16th, they filed another application for injunctive relief, which essentially would have the effect of gagging the Honorable Panton and her associates or affiliates from speaking about the UDP, the headquarters, or anything politics related. On their contention, they're saying status quo ante refers to him being definitively the party leader, and that when the order was granted, it definitively established that he is the party leader. And on our case, the position of the Honorable Panton and her learned attorney is that that is not what the order established. And what was argued before determining contempt or any injunctive relief is exactly what did the order grant. And
Pitts noted that Justice Hundura clarified that the November order did not definitively define Barrow as the rightful UDP leader. She added that this principal issue remains to be decided after trial.
I can tell you, hastening to the conclusion by the court, that the court agreed with Peter Knox KC that the order of November 8 did not definitively establish that the party leader is Barrow, because that question remains to be determined, and that the order issued November 8 is limited to trespass where possession was granted back to Barrow. Having gone through the legal authorities, having listened to the arguments, the court concluded that the second application to injunct or restrain the Honorable Panton and her associates and those persons I named before from exercising freedom of speech, it cannot be obtained, and the order as per it could not be granted. So effectively, both applications by Barrow failed. And at the end, the principle where cost follows the event, it meant that Honorable Panton and her learned attorneys are entitled to costs of the two unsuccessful applications.
Panton said that she respected the matter that was before the court, but she had always expressed that they considered themselves to be representing the UDP.
We have always maintained, Jules, and we continue to maintain that we are members of the United Democratic Party, that we are running as candidates for the United Democratic Party. In their abundance of caution and in an effort to try to mitigate any unnecessary risks, we waited for this matter to be heard by the court. On October 20th, 2024, the delegates of the United Democratic Party voted in a free and fair convention to recall Shine Barrow as leader of the party. At that same convention, I was asked by the delegates of the United Democratic Party, 70% of the delegates, to serve as interim party leader. That is a responsibility I took up then, and that is a responsibility I intend to hold until after the general elections has been held.
In his latest comments regarding the constitutional claim for a redistricting to be held before the next general elections, Prime Minister John Briceño has affirmed that they followed the law and acted in good faith. One of the arguments in court from the Attorney General is that the Prime Minister cannot force a committee to send back a bill to the House, and today the PM spoke about the bill remaining in committee. He also addressed the request for 5 days notice that had been made by claimant Jeremy Enriquez before he announced the date for the elections.
You're right, I can't speak much about it, but I can tell you that we have followed the law and we've acted in good faith. When the lawyers asked us last week if we were going to call the elections for the National Assembly, dissolve the House of the National at the last week Friday at National Assembly at the House meeting, we answered immediately it was no. Now, I'm told they wrote a letter, I think on Friday. I was out for 1 day for a meeting. I came in and went straight to Bamopan to the House meeting. I got in about 12:30. And I was busy, so I could not respond to the letter. And by the time we responded, I think it was on Monday night. Basically, I'm saying that it is the constitutional right of the Prime Minister to decide when they want to call elections. They don't give notice. They just go and say, I want to call elections then. This is something that has been in the works for a few months now. You know, I've been discussing with my key advisors as to when we think would be the best. So my calling election had nothing to do with what these people are trying to do.
If it were to be the case that it would be decided that the elections cannot happen before the redistricting, what would this mean for our democracy, for our process?
Well, I can't really answer, but I'm hoping that the courts would see that we have acted in good faith and that we follow the law, we've followed the Constitution of Belize, and that's what we're operating.
And Belizeans can expect this redistricting process to, this whole process to be continued in the next government?
No, definitely. There has to have redistricting. It's unfortunate that it took so long for the Elections and Borders Commission to make a report. The report went to the House, and from indications, both major parties rejected what was presented, but it had to go to House Committee. And so it was in House Committee, and for some reason it did not come back to the House for second and third reading, and that is why it did not happen. But I can assure you that I venture to say that as soon as we elected, if we're elected, I hope we are, that redistricting is going to be high in our priority list, so that we could do it way before the election, so that the aspiring politicians or people that want to represent these areas would have enough time to be able to visit the people in the area, to get to know the people, get to know the area, get to know the challenges. To do that at this point.
After the break, we'll have the reaction of Honorable Moses Shine Barrow to today's court ruling. Stay with us. Today's High Court ruling on the contempt of court application against Honorable Tracy Panton and for additional orders is a significant blow for Barrow, who wanted the court to indicate that he is the rightful leader of the UDP. However, when he spoke with the media this afternoon, he kept emphasizing that they get to hold on to the headquarters and assets and that for him, nothing changes.
Well, it is not
Ideal.
it's not ideal, but nothing has changed, which is evident as to where you are right now. The UDP headquarters and the Guardian, the Wave, the operations of the UDP remain as it was ordered in the November 8th order, which is to return to the central executive of the UDP. I will share with you that the defendant, Tracy's lawyer, senior counsel Knox, pleaded to the court that this is a matter of free speech and that his client is free to say whatever she wants because what she is saying has no impact on my operation and function as leader. According to Senior Counsel Knox, there has been no injury or no interference with my function as leader. I've removed candidates, I have elected new candidates, and I have continued to function as the party leader. So she could say whatever she wants, but I continue to function as party leader, controlling all of the assets and operations of the party, which was their argument.
Right. So now,
which is true, right?
Okay, but now it's a consequential outcome because you have been fighting so hard to make sure they don't use the UDP name or branding or refer to herself as leader, and now all that is lost. We just did an interview with her and she reaffirms her position as the only rightful leader of the UDP. And she's going to the elections and boundaries with this next Wednesday when they meet.
Yes. Well, there are different layers here. The application for restraining order focused on her passing herself off as leader. So that was a speech issue. And with all respect to Justice Honduras, I don't remember a defamation case or case of speech, lying or whatever that has ever gotten an interim injunction. So that matter is not completely resolved. It's just that we won't get an interim restraining order, but there still will be damages at trial if we are victorious in our position, which the main claim is that she should have been restrained and that, there was only one leader on October 20th was invalid.
As to Panton, following the favorable result in the court today, she told the media that there is only one UDP and that her faction has ever only operated under the premise that there is one UDP, with her group being the real one. She said the UDP is fielding 31 candidates in the March 12 general elections and explained how the purported replacement of Honorable Moses Shine Barrow by Lee Mark Chang is illegal under the UDP constitution.
I want to correct the narrative, Jules, because you continue to promote the confusion that there are two UDPs. There is one United Democratic Party, and let me say, the United Democratic Party has 31 standard bearers vying for the election. We maintain that 31 were those candidates who went to a contested or endorsement convention, with the exception of MESOP. And the MESOP matter came to be when the executive committee of MESOP sought an audience with me and asked for a new standard bearer, which is their legal and constitutional right to do. And so there is now a new, based on the strength of that, the new UDP standard bearer in Mesop in the name of Lee Marchand.
Panton admitted she expects Honorable Moses Shine Barrow to fight back. She also said that she does not expect him to play fair or by the rules, but that they are ready to also fight until the elections are over.
Democracy, and I've said this before and I reiterate, is messy. And we don't expect that Shine is going to play fair. He's not going to play by the rules. He's going to put his best spin on this certainly ruling that was not in his favor, but neither are we going to go anywhere. We are resolute in our determination to defend democracy within the party and to defend the democracy of this country. We will not yield, we will not buckle, and we are going to fight till the last vote is counted on March the 12th.
Barrow has said he will appeal the decision. Back in 2015, the then Barrow administration passed a law turning stevedores into essential service workers. It meant they needed to give 21 days notice of strike action. This week, the Christian Workers Union, which is the bargaining agent of stevedores, reiterated to the labor minister in a communication that the International Labor Organization does not list stevedoring as an essential service. The union pointed out that this was done without the stevedores receiving the comparative benefits of other essential services. At the end of 2023, South Africa filed a genocide case against Israel in the International Criminal Court, alleging that Israel was committing genocide against the Palestinians. The U.S., a staunch ally of Israel, has repeatedly denied any suggestion that Israel's war against Hamas in Gaza amounts to genocide. As we have reported, 8 other countries, including Belize, have joined South Africa to form the Hague Group to hold Israel accountable for war crimes committed in Gaza. The group has committed to abide by the rulings of the ICC, whereas Trump on February 6th signed an executive order imposing sanctions on the ICC over its rulings regarding Israel. The executive action stated that the ICC had, quote, engaged in illegitimate and baseless actions targeting America and our close ally Israel, end quote. Neither the U.S. nor Israel are members of the court. Trump has since lashed at South Africa as well, halting aid and accusing them of taking land away from a certain group of South Africans. Minister of Foreign Affairs, Honorable Francis Fonseca, was asked this week if Belize could experience backlash from Trump as well for its Palestine advocacy.
I think, Belize, as you said, participated in the initial meeting of the Hague Group. There are changing circumstances and changing conditions, and we have to constantly review those. The cabinet is aware of these issues. We are discussing these issues. Again, our position is that any of these organizations that we engage in, we do so on a principled basis, really because of our strong commitment as a country to self-determination. That has been, the critical focus for us in all of these fora that we participate. But as I said, it's something that we are reviewing and looking at, and Cabinet will discuss these matters in a more comprehensive way.
NHI is expected to roll out to the entire country by the end of this year. However, Prime Minister of Belize, Honorable John Briceño, told the media today that the government will now look to upgrade certain healthcare facilities across the country. The next two facilities to benefit from upgrades are scheduled to be the Northern Regional Hospital in Orange Walk and the Punta Gorda Community Hospital in Toledo. A feasibility study will be done on both in the coming weeks. For the NRH, the study will determine whether the facilities will be upgraded or if an entirely new facility is needed. For the PG hospital, the study will seek to possibly upgrade the facility to a regional hospital. The PM said the government will receive a grant from Taiwan and the Central American Bank for economic integration, totaling almost $1 million US.
But we also have to upgrade the the secondary healthcare hospitals. Orange Rock is a good example. This was built about 50 years ago. We have outgrown this hospital, and I'm hoping that with the NHI we are easing the pressures of the amount of people going there, but we still have to upgrade the facilities. We have to modernize the facilities. And the same thing happened with the community hospital in Punta Gorda, that when we set up the regional hospitals, the regional hospital in the south is in Dangriga, but that's about 100 miles away. So A, it's too far, especially for emergencies, and B, we have a lot of people that do not have, especially the Toledo district being the poorest district, they do not have the wherewithal to be able to get to the facilities. So we decided, working with Kabe, working with Taiwan, between them they're giving us a grant of $900,000+ US, almost $1 million US, to do a feasibility studies for these two places on how we can upgrade them. In Orange Rock, we're looking at if it's feasible to continue build there, or do we have to build a totally new hospital. We're not the experts, so it's important we bring the expert to take that look. Likewise, that's what we did for the Toledo district, how we can improve this community hospital to be able to provide more of the secondary services that our citizens need in the Toledo district.
So that is already started?
Well, we signed it, and the feasibility study is about to start. So we're going to start probably next few weeks to come.
After the break, Panton says they will now request to use the color red for elections. Stay tuned. Following today's High Court ruling, AFD leader Honorable Tracy Panton called it a major victory for the UDP delegates. She said they didn't allow the other faction to intimidate them and they made their voices heard clearly. She added that their intentions were in the interest of the party and country. According to Panton, the ruling proved that there is freedom of expression.
It is, in my view, a major victory for our delegates against all odds, who did not yield to fear, did not yield to incentives, did not yield to bullish tactics, but came out and made their voices heard clearly what their intentions were and what they wanted to see happen in the interest of the party and in the interest of Belize's democracy. They spoke on October 20th, and Jules, you were there, and you know that there was a robust outpouring of support at that convention. And we were not going to sit back and allow the voices of our delegates to be disregarded or dismissed, or for our delegates of the UDP to be disrespected. And for me, as you say, it's a foot off my neck. I think it is really important that the court saw in its wisdom and by law, legally, that we have a freedom of expression.
As to who gets to claim the color red for the elections, Panton had actually written to the Elections and Boundaries Commission recommending that neither UDP faction be allowed to use the color. In light of today's High Court decision, however, she told the media she will officially request the color for her group.
So let me clarify that. So our position was, if we were not able to be afforded the red, no one should be afforded the red because the matter is still before the court and under dispute. We have requested that we be given the red because we contend and we continue to maintain that we are members of the United Democratic Party. So that is our official request to the Election and Boundaries Commission.
The decision on who gets to use the color red will be left to the commission, which has not yet decided on the matter. Meanwhile, the Elections and Boundaries Department has invited all political parties, movements, independent parties, and candidates to an elections meeting on Wednesday, February 19 at 10 a.m. at their head office in Belmopan. In one final story about the UDP, another issue that was addressed today by the Tracy Panton faction of the UDP was the issue of Moses Shine Barrow declaring that Jose U.C. Espat was his candidate for the Albert constituency. According to attorney Sheena Pitts, the UDP constitution was not followed when naming Espat as Albert's standard bearer for the upcoming general elections. As such, Panton's faction does not recognize his candidacy.
Although we like that there are persons who want to put themselves forward for service to the people and country, unfortunately, you ought to be cajoled into boycotting procedures to get yourself in the foot of a person who can properly serve under the UDP banner. So in short, Mr. Espat did not enjoy his position through the procedural regulations of the UDP, and so it is the Honorable Panton's view that he is not the rightful candidate for the UDP in the area division, in the Albert division.
The Prime Minister of Belize, Honorable John Briceño, today donated robotics kits to all high schools in Orange Walk. Each high school received 2 kits, with a pair going to Orange Walk's U-Space Hub at the Banquitas House of Culture. The PM explained why he decided to make the donation and why it's important to introduce students to robotics and other forms of technology.
And I found this very exciting to be able to provide them with 12 kits. It started when I was at Muffles High School. I was there for immigration, to issue some cards to some immigrants. And then when I was walking around, one of the teachers invited me to take a look at what they're doing. I says, listen, we've won a prize, we're doing very well. So, but I think they only had 1 kit or 2, and they needed some more. So I said, well, probably maybe I could donate one. And then fast forward a few weeks later here, when we launched the U Space here, this was also a part of it. And I said, you know what, I think that's something that we want to do. I discussed it with the executive for Orange Walk Central and hired me as a chairman. And then we decided that we want to give 2 kits to every high school and 2 kits here at the House of Culture for the U Space. So to be here with young people and looking at these kits, the robotic kits that can open up the minds of our young people, ignite their creativity, and for them to start to think beyond the borders of your high school, but to think and think about the problems and challenges that we have and how we can improve through robotics, through technology.
And with that, we have come to the end of our newscast. A repeat can be viewed on the station later tonight at 9 and again Monday at midday. Join us again Monday for another news broadcast. I am Drea Espinosa. Have a safe and enjoyable weekend.